Yep. We'll do the invocation first, and then they'll do it. Still got it. There we go. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Let's move to agenda adoption. I do have a change. I'd like to remove 2E off the agenda as it's not ready to be on the agenda from the consent agenda. 2E, to remove that. Are there any other changes? I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda removing 2E.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion on the floor?
Second.
Properly seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Today our invocation will be led by Councilman Barfield.
Father, we meet tonight to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and to the future and to the rights and needs of both individuals and the community. As trusted servants, we seek your blessings on our deliberations and our efforts here today. May we act wisely and fairly. Guide us so that we may honor you in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Our Pledge of Allegiance today will be led by Girl Scout Troop 1584. Welcome. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, well, got a little bit ahead.
Color guard, attention. Color guard, advance. Color guard, please prepare, post your colors. Color guard, post your colors. Now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Color guards dismissed.
All right, so we have a couple of presentations today. We're going to start with that Girl Scout troop that we just had join us. And actually, you guys can all come up here. Somebody can help me do this? Sure. So we're going to honor this Girl Scout troop today, and we'll read a little bit about what they've done for our community. Girl Scout Troop 1584 explored the needs of their community and voted on a take action project for the local Humane Society. The girls agreed that with the revolving door of animals, the Humane Society was in need of additional vets to maintain healthy dogs. Their goal was to raise enough money to purchase and build 20 parental beds. Through multiple car washes, hot dog sales, nut candy sales, and cookie sales, they were able to raise $1,500 to do just that. This Bronze Award project was girl-led team, helped by a group of 12 junior Girl Scouts. The project's objective was must benefit the local community and/or benefit Girl Scouting as a whole. Each scout was expected to contribute a minimum of 20 hours towards the project. The Bronze Award is the third highest award in Girl Scout USA. I'm proud of all their hard work and dedication. Let's give them a hand. Hopefully, Kennedy King. Casey Callahan. Jankowski.
We also had two other helpers, Jacqueline Pinkowski
You guys can come up here. You
Kennedy
guys
Kate.
help.
They're not quite juniors, so they didn't win an award yet, but they will. They did help quite a bit. Or Kennedy County, I'm sorry. Sorry, Kennedy.
Let's give them a round of applause.
Photo op.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to hit close again?
Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else, guys? Help.
Great job.
Good job, guys.
We've got another presentation tonight. This is to honor Tommy Rucker. I've known Tommy probably about the whole time he coached as the president of the youth league and also on this council. It was an amazing man to me because if he came to me to complain about anything, I needed to pay attention because it was always something that was either the safety of the children or something was not fair. He was just an amazing coach, an amazing guy to be around. I just can't. In addition to this proclamation, we're also going to be doing something at the park. HYA is why we have Harrisburg Parks and Recreation Department today. So there'll be a rock out there with an HYA monument plaque on it. Down at the base of that rock, leading up to the rock, there'll be a plaque made in Tommy's honor for what he's done for our community. I'm going to read this, make it through it. And if the family wants to come up here and join me, please come up here. Whoever's here for the family, please come up. Whereas the town of Harrisburg recognizes Johnny T. Tommy Rucker Jr. for outstanding dedication to youth in the community of Harrisburg for over 20 years. As a volunteer for Harrisburg Parks and Recreation Department and previously HYA, he was known as Coach Tommy. And whereas we believe Tommy was mindful of the impact coaching can have on a kid's life regardless of age, and the constant compassion and love he displayed while coaching will forever and lasting impacts on youth in the community in Harrisburg. And whereas Tommy set a standard for coaching, a standard that will prevail through his leadership and example, a standard that was gifted to Tommy, a standard recognized by over 300 boys and girls fortunate enough to have experienced Tommy's gift in his 35 years of coaching. And whereas Tommy was a gift to anyone and everyone who knew him, he possessed the gift of selflessness, the gift of being the biggest fan of others and putting the need of others above his own. As a follower of Christ, Tommy firmly believed, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as good for building up as it fits the occasion and may give grace to those who hear. Ephesians 4:29. Now therefore be resolved by the town of Harrisburg in a meeting duly assembled and the authority thereof, that we proudly honor the late Johnny T. Tommy Rucker for his love, dedication, and commitment to the community and the youth of the town of Harrisburg. Thank you.
Just want to thank you all for this, for recognizing and honoring him. Wish you didn't have to honor him. Not in our preference. But we thank you. He loved the community. He loved HYAHCYA. But he wasn't at home, and that's where he wanted to be. We talked about it once, and he said that it was his stress reliever. I didn't see it that way. At times, it wasn't my stress reliever. My stress reliever was a little different, but it was his stress reliever. And because it was, I knew that he loved it. And because I loved him, it was okay. And I knew it made him happy. And sister and I were talking before we got disconnected on the phone a little bit ago. And just kind of still having some feeling like we have some unanswered questions and still concerned, and you know, that you go through. And I think we just both came to the conclusion before we got disconnected that what did God need? What did he need? He must have been a good coach up there, more so than here. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your support. The support of the community is what has gotten us through these last 2 weeks. It's been very difficult. And through your prayers and your support and your words of encouragement and your meals, we have been blessed beyond measure. We all have been blessed beyond measure. And I just want you to know how much we appreciate what you've given back to us. Thank you.
Got one more proclamation to read for Alcohol Awareness Month. Another one that's kind of near and dear to my heart. And I'm actually let Benita read it because I'm not going to be able to do it.
This is Alcohol Awareness Month, and this is our proclamation. Whereas excessive drinking is responsible for more than 4,300 deaths among underage youth each year, and whereas alcohol is the most commonly used additive substance in the United States, and whereas more than 1.6 million young people report driving under the influence of alcohol in the past year, and whereas young people who begin drinking before age 15 are 4 times more likely to develop alcohol dependence than those who began drinking at age 21, and whereas drinking by persons under the age of 21 is linked to 189,000 emergency room visits, and whereas the typical American will see 100,000 beer commercials before he or she turns 18, and whereas kids who drink more are more likely to be victims of violent crime, to be involved in alcohol-related traffic crashes, and to have serious school-related problems. And whereas a supportive family environment is associated with lowered rates of alcohol use for adolescents. And whereas kids who have conversations with their parents and learn about the dangers of alcohol and drug use are 50% less likely to use alcohol and drugs than those who don't have such conversations. And whereas this year's theme, Help for Today, Hope for Tomorrow, is designed to draw attention to the many opportunities individuals, families, and communities have to educate young people on the dangers of alcohol use. Therefore, Benita Conrad, Town Council, Harrisburg, North Carolina, do proclaim the month of April 2019 as Alcohol Awareness Month, and call upon the citizens to support the efforts that will provide early education about alcoholism and addiction and increase support for individuals and families coping with alcoholism. Through these efforts together, we can provide hope, help, and healing for those in our community who are facing challenges with alcohol use and abuse. This is the 8th day of April 2019.
move to the consent agenda next. And you guys, definitely you're welcome to, obviously, thank you. Entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Motion for approval, Mayor.
Got a motion on the floor?
Second.
Properly seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving to town manager.
Mayor and council, I just recognized on this printed agenda that the public comment portion of the meeting is missing. That normally follows the consent agenda, so if we want to go ahead and
Yep,
slide that
we'll
in,
do
we'll
that.
do that before I get to my
Yep,
manager's
absolutely.
report.
And
So I
I
apologize
apologize
for
to the
that.
audience who just left. Let's see. Public comment. We do have somebody that did sign up, but I'll just open up the floor. Anybody wishing to address council to talk about whatever's on your mind, come to the podium. I do have Sushil that signed up. If you just come over and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Sushil Newpain, address 7140 Stream Haven Drive here in Harrisburg. I'm here today is because I had a problem with the utility. It's a minor problem, but I asked work and I raised my voice, and then they said, you can go to a town hall meeting, and that's why I'm here. What happened was, it's for the water service. I locked myself out. I lost my password. I forgot my password. I locked myself out. And I tried to recover my password. There was no way, I could do it. I tried to contact the office. They say it's handled by the third party, and we cannot help. And they gave me a number for the director of IT. I tried to contact him, left a voicemail. No response. Since I have my bill on auto pay, I missed a payment for that month. That ended up them disconnecting my service. And when I called, they said, there was $100 charge on my account. I have to pay $100 in order to restore the service. So I end up paying $100. And even I tried to make a payment. There was a way to make a payment online, but for that you need an account number, which I obtained from the office. But you need a last amount that I paid, which I, did not remember. I tried a bunch of different numbers, didn't work. So I thought it is not because of my fault. I had it on auto pay. It got stopped because I lost my card, and then when I tried to recover the password. And even it's been a month, and I have not heard from anyone the way how I can recover my password, just so I can continue, auto draft or withdrawal. So that's why I'm here.
Okay. So
Yeah, I'm not aware of the.
if you can write your name and contact information and give it to the person on the end, we will make sure somebody connects back with you.
Yeah, that and also that $100 is, just for that, it's not because of my fault. So I thought, I would appreciate if that can be waived or refunded.
We'll have our
Yeah,
town
let
manager
me
investigate
take a
that.
look at it. I'm not aware of your situation yet, so if
Okay.
you'll allow me the opportunity to look into it, I'll connect with you tomorrow, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Do you
Yes,
need
sir.
my information or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think it's on the sign-up sheet. I can get you.
Yeah,
If
we
you'll-
have, we do.
Okay, thank you. We'll get your contact. I'll be in touch tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else wishing to address council? Welcome to come to the podium. Hearing none, we'll move off the public comment and now go to town manager's monthly report.
All right, Mayor and Council, just a few items, some continuation from last month that I just want to make the public aware of. We are continuing with the litter sweep program through NCDOT. That will begin April 13th through April 27th. We do have supplies and materials here at Town Hall. If any citizen group or resident is interested in becoming a part of that, it's simply just cleaning up the roadways and streamways within our community. It's a program that NCDOT runs every year, and so they're gracious enough to provide us the materials that we can then provide to residents. So if anyone's interested in that, feel free to contact our customer service or our Public Works Department, and we'll be sure to arrange that. We also have another local service project-oriented project going on called I Love My City. You'll probably see signs throughout the community across Cabarrus County, but in Harrisburg specifically, there are already 4 or 5 community service type projects that are available to participate in. If you want to come up with your own, there's opportunity to do that. But that is I Love My City's website. You can find it via our website as well to connect with that. But that is, again, a local service project intended to benefit the community, and that is going to be focused on the weekend of April 26th through the 28th. So that is upcoming. Again, a lot of opportunities out there to volunteer and participate in those events. Also want to update the public that we have our last 2 remaining budget workshops for the council as we go forward with preparing our fiscal year 2020 budget. Those meetings will be held on April 15th and April 25th. So April 15th is actually next Monday. It'll be held here in the council chambers beginning at 6 p.m. The meeting on the 25th is also going to be held here in council chambers at 6 p.m. So the public is welcome to come and sit and participate and hear how the budget is created and the priorities of the council are established. So we encourage anyone who's interested in that process to attend. Also, something new for this meeting, as the town looks to, again, engage the community and get our information out there and be as transparent as possible. With this meeting tonight, we're beginning a video archive of the council meetings. So if residents aren't able to physically attend at 6 p.m. on the second Monday of each month, we will actually be videoing these meetings and have those uploaded within a few days after the meeting on the town website for folks to view so they can see the activities and actions of the council. That's all that I have.
Any questions? So I just have a couple things. I don't know if anybody saw the Cabarrus EDC post on the safest cities in North Carolina. Concord was listed, Charlotte was listed, Kannapolis was listed, and of course we're not listed, and if you recall, the reason why is we're not able to have our numbers broken out of the county. So I'm asking Haynes to go reach back out to Sheriff Shaw and see if we can figure out its data, right? So, you know, if it's a zoning issue, maybe we can get that corrected and actually try to get those numbers submitted so we can kind of see where we fall. I would believe if Kannapolis, Concord, and Charlotte in the top 25 that we should probably be there, pretty close to that. So we'll see what we get at, but I'm hopeful that we can actually get something that would put us in the top 10 would be nice. So. And the other thing, and I'm just going to go to Haynes, caught some wind of some short pants opportunities in the fire department, and obviously that's created a stir. If you could just let council know kind of the new policy that was rolled out, the why, and what are some of the people doing or the fire departments in the area is doing that either matches or doesn't match.
Is it related to the uniform policy? Yeah, so it was an inquiry. We had some staff members across multiple departments reach out and ask about the opportunity to wear shorts, especially during the hot summer months. And so we took a look at it. We met with our safety consultant as well to get their opinion. And really the directive that we've come up with is safety oriented. So the safety of the employee is key, and that's the most important thing. And so when you look at the daily activities of individuals, whether they're in the Public Works Department or in the Fire Department, they're almost always engaged in activities that have a safety component to them. And so in having exposed legs, when you go on a fire call, let's use that as an example because you mentioned the Fire Department specifically, you get a call and you're wearing shorts and you show up on the scene and there's an accident with injuries. And so you've got the possibility of contamination and exposure to bloodborne pathogens and the like. You've got the exposure to, maybe sheet metal of a wrecked vehicle. There are a lot of different elements out there. And so really the decision was, from staff's perspective, is safety is the forefront for our employees. And so rather than to get into those gray areas of when it's applicable and when it's not applicable, we've just said basically anytime you're in service, you're going to be wearing something other than shorts. If you're out of service, if you're hanging around the station, shorts are applicable and totally fine. But if you're out even so much as exercising, performing routine maintenance, or certainly on a call, We want you to be dressed in the safest way possible. Now, you asked me, how does that compare to others? I wasn't prepared to answer that question, so I
that's
don't
fine.
know. I didn't know that was going to get asked that question. But that's just really why we have taken the stance that we have. And it's not a staff, decision. It's really, we got feedback from our safety coordinators and folks to say this is the best interest of the staff members. We do work with certain staff members who are exposed to the high elements, especially like our maintenance workers, our parks and rec, our public works employees. We alter their shifts in the summer months to keep them out of the heat exposure to the best of our abilities. But it really boils down to safety.
Got it.
And can I add on to that, it just wasn't from the safety consultant, we actually reached out to OSHA, and they gave us a directive that under many circumstances, they needed to have on pants, because of possible injuries, even during lawn maintenance care, out, whether you're edging or mowing or what have you, is their recommendation is if they came in, someone got hurt, it would be considered a violation.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
I got a question. Haynes, as you know, I'm a retired fireman, and I put 20 years in, 15 years volunteering, 5 years is paid. And all I'm saying is, we wore shorts and we jumped on a truck, we put our bunker gear on. Now, it's gonna be hotter in the summer, but if you're working around the station or in the gym, I don't see any reason why they can't wear shorts. That's-
You tell us. You guys tell us. We're just taking directive from OSHA, so if the
I'm
council
gonna
wants
put a
to-
motion on the floor
Sure.
that, if they have to wear bunker pants, you get on a call, no question, you can't be on an accident with shorts. But as a retired fireman, getting a paycheck from the state, that I don't think we should limit them to that. I think
Well,
that,
I want to just say that staff was unaware of council's concerns regarding this. We could have come prepared with, a little bit more
I
information.
didn't know anything
than what we
about it,
have.
so I'm just throwing it out.
Why don't we defer your motion until, let them have an opportunity to come back, because obviously this caught them by surprise.
Yeah, we weren't aware of this.
Could you add the OSHA piece as well, so we understand that fully?
Yeah.
I mean, we certainly don't need to be putting ourselves in a OSHA violation.
And while we're at it, look at some Concord, Charlotte, Kannapolis, and just kind of get an idea of how they handle the same situation.
Sure.
Because obviously, if we make a policy for the fire department that allows it, then you're gonna have to relax other areas within the town employees as well. So we just need to be aware of what that would look like. That fair?
Yep.
I mean, if you're spraying Roundup, you know to wear long pants, but it's gonna be hot this summer, and it's ludicrous for me to think that they can't wear short pants around the station, or scrubbing floors, or doing what they're doing. And everybody knows when the call comes out, your bunker pants are in the truck. You just take your shoes off and put your feet in the boots, and you're ready to go. So, that's
Do
why.
our firefighters currently wear their bunker gear on medical calls?
No.
Or is it?
No, and that's a problem too, is a typical medical call, you're not gonna
You
wear
can't.
that kind of.
If you don't have shorts on, you're gonna have to.
Yep. Well, we have incidents where we have firefighters that respond to calls wearing shorts. And so I think, again, it's caught me by surprise, so I apologize, I'm not well-versed on our stance on this. It is something we're aware of as a request from our employees, and we did investigate it to the best of our ability by seeking out OSHA and others' input. So it's not Haynes's decision, it's not HR's decision.
I'm just giving you
We
my
took the
opinion
recommendations
as
of
a
OSHA.
firefighter, that's all, I'm just
Yep.
giving you my opinion.
Perfectly justified.
Mr. Dunn, would you like to comment?
I'll provide more information when I.
Okay,
fair.
that's fine. Thanks. That's all I have. I'll go to council for comments.
I'll go.
Does he need to withdraw a motion?
Oh, yeah,
I would withdraw the motion.
we're good.
I got two things. One, I just want to express my gratitude to the town, but to you, the mayor, and to Haynes. With regards to Tommy, when we found out, you guys both responded very quickly, and I appreciate that. The other is the video archive. I'm glad to see it's finally in place and moving. I mean, Christopher and I came in almost 4 years ago asking for that, and to finally see it up and running is a great
And can I tag along to that too?
Sure.
In order for it to be effective, we all have to speak into our microphones.
Yeah,
So,
agreed.
you'll have James, that'll be in the background kind of running that. So if you see him flagging you down, just be sure your microphone's on and you speak into it, because otherwise, the video recording is going to be somewhat pointless. This is our first rodeo too with it, so give us a little bit of time to kind of get used to it and make sure that the technology is set up effectively. So, but
And with that, thanks Daniel and his staff for getting the information together with regards to Tommy and making sure everybody was educated on what was going on.
I got one thing. I was driving on the other side of the tracks today. I was going to the
Was that the
dermatologist.
right side or the wrong side?
The other side, not my side. I was over to Charlotte Dermatology, and on my way back, I just happened to pull into Station 2 and just drive around, and it's totally amazing. I know Station 3 is really nice, but the Station 2 is totally amazing. If anybody has 5 minutes out of your day that you want to drive through and see a top-of-the-line fire station, I didn't go in, I've been in it, but just driving around, it's amazing. So thanks to everybody that had anything to do with it, and Haynes, your crew, to get everything done. It looks like it's going to be
Yep.
a stellar.
we'll have a ribbon cutting scheduled on that very soon.
Yeah,
So we'll
thank you.
be getting in
It's-
touch with you
it's-
guys to let you know about that.
Very nice. Thank you.
Any other council comments? Did you guys get the ribbon cutting for the new food pantry?
Yes,
20th.
it's in your box.
It's in your boxes if you haven't gotten it. And hearing no more comments from council, I guess we'll go to the first public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The agenda in front of you is a public hearing to do a text amendment to Section E.3.12 of the UDO that will allow the town to require burying utilities underground along Highway 49. So the policy issue in front of the town is, again, should we require the utilities to be buried underground for new construction? Again, this is only for new construction, not for existing businesses that are expanding unless they're building a brand-new building. The picture you see were overhead utilities on NC 49 looking north at 49 and Moorhead, just to give you an example of what it looks like today. Current town policy on underground utilities are limited to new subdivisions. Whenever we're widening a new road and it requires the utilities to go underground, then we do that. It does not apply to single lot, and it's very silent on overhead utilities along any major thoroughfare that goes through the town. So to give you some background, this item was presented to the council in early 2018, of course, via planning board. At that time, the text amendment as it was presented was not approved by the planning board and by the council. So this is, again, an opportunity to bring back this text amendment with few extra added layers to the text. We've added the fee in lieu option, and also if there is some conditions because of the weather, other underground unknown bedrock issues, so that the current text amendment addresses that as well. Why do we need to do this? We've seen, as you all know, along Highway 49, there's a lot of pressure for new growth, for new construction. And also, over the past few weeks, we've entertained several proposals for redeveloping the existing sites, so flipping the old buildings and building brand new. So there's a lot of opportunities for us to get ahead of the problem, have this policy in place, bury the utilities underground, and maintain the desired look along 49 within town of Harrisburg. Some of the pros and cons for your review. This is an opportunity, again, for us to leverage private investment to manage a key corridor. This is unlike any other things, any other corridor in Cabarrus County. I think Highway 49 is unique, and we have that opportunity in front of us. One of the first steps to create that complete street where all the modes, from travel lanes to bike lane, sidewalks, creating that planning strip, getting the utilities underground is key. Of course, it looks attractive and to new businesses and residents. And one of the major benefit is the weather conditions. In case of extreme weather, there will be reduced blackouts. Some of the cons, of course, are if you look at upfront cost compared to connecting to the overhead utilities and taking it underground, there is upfront cost. It seems higher. But over the long run, Highway 49 carries an average of like 37,000 vehicles, daily trips. Any businesses that coming to the corridor, they're capturing that trip. So it might seem like added cost for the businesses to come in, but over time, the revenues are going to surplus, and we'll get benefit of businesses utilizing the improved corridor, and we get the corridor we want it to look like. There will be coordination and agreements with NCDOT and Duke Power as we go through, so that will add some time. Of course, the construction, maintenance, and any upsizing along Highway 49 will create some short-term issues, so we'll have to deal with that. As we rely on private sector to put in some money and do this, it's going to be incremental. We're not looking at doing this tomorrow. It's like 20, 30 years. So this is pretty much setting us for a future that we want our corridor to look like. And there might be opportunity in the future that there might be gaps, so we'll utilize the fee in lieu and add some funds into the budget as the need arises and finish that task as we go into the future. So here's an opportunity just to give you a visual before and after. It's not 49, but 49 look alike. So if you look at the top left, so that's the before picture where you have all the overhead lines, no median, and your 4-lane travel road with center turn lanes. The opportunity that we could create is the picture below, the after situation. So the future for 49 is a boulevard look that we've kind of envisioned. It's not in current NCDOT plans or anything, but as soon as the opportunity arises, we're going to go after funds to create this look for 49. And having this policy is the first step towards that. We did some research in the surrounding communities. Of course, Concord, having owned their own electric company, they have more funding and more provisions in place to do utilities underground. Other towns have similar policy like ours for new subdivisions. But again, none of these communities have a thoroughfare similar to Highway 49 that goes through the middle of the town. So we have this unique opportunity. Here's the text amendment in front of you, which was included in your packet. So again, just summarizing what the text says, it only applies to new commercial development and redevelopment that involves complete tear down. So if somebody is coming into an existing building and trying to build a new business, this does not apply to that. So it has to be a new construction or a complete tear down. If there is underlying rocks or other conditions that prevent, then we'll review that on a case-by-case basis. And we added extra layer into the policy. If for whatever reason the applicant doesn't want to do it, then they have an option to pay. We'll be creating a special reserve fund within our finance department. Will handle that, and we'll collect the funds. That will go only towards bringing the utilities into the future. So that will be a special fund just dedicated to this. Staff's review aligns with our recently adopted land use plan, the objective to improve the look and image of the town. Recommendation LU6, focus on quality, which encourages the town to improve of Highway 49. So it aligns with what we have adopted in our plans. Planning board reviewed the recommendation, and what you have in front of you was based on some of the changes. Planning board and our attorney provided some feedback, so the language reflects those changes. Just wanted to list some examples. So RVs on 49, they had to bore across 49. Just to give you a cost comparison on that, if they were to just connect to the overhead utilities, you're looking at $12,000, $13,000 versus going underground. I think it was close to $39,000, $40,000. So that's the relative comparison. We're already working with dental office next to RVs. They're working with Duke Power, and we're also going underground, and they have a situation where they will need to bore and go across as well. So with new constructions and new opportunities to redevelop the existing sites, this policy is going to help us in the long run. Again, we're not here to tell you that the change and everything is going to happen in the next few years, but this is a long run. In 20, 30 years, we'll be able to realize the effect of this policy. With that, staff recommends approval of the text amendment as presented, and we ask council to open it for public hearing and take action tonight. Thank you.
Any questions before we?
I have a few.
Yeah, you go first.
First question is, and I'll probably look back at Haynes because Shashil, you weren't in the role at the time. There was some concern with Duke and Arby's at the time about going under. Has that since been resolved and everybody's on the same page, or is that still?
Yeah, so obviously NCDOT and Duke, they want to make it as simple as possible for everybody. So we resolved the Arby's situation. There was just really some confusion on the Arby's specific site plan about what was approved versus what Arby's intended. I think their plan showed that they would go underground, where Arby's didn't intend for that to happen on their plan, but we held them to their plan and made them go underground. So there were some additional costs and there were some additional permitting that they didn't expect along the way. So I think it was more of a timing aspect with the Arby's specific case that caused issue. And just to even kind of further add on to what Sushil had mentioned, I think there was just some confusion last time this was brought before both the planning board and the town council for consideration. You know, we've all set this long-range plan and agenda to improve the aesthetics of Highway 49, and this is a step in that right direction. Using 2017 numbers, it costs about $2 million a mile to have aerial utilities brought underground. And so for the roughly 4-mile stretch that we have of Highway 49 from the county line through Saddle Creek Court, that's about an $8 million expense for the town if we were to take that project on ourselves. And so this ordinance will allow us to take advantage and leverage private development to allow them to pay for portions of this. And again, as Sushil mentioned, it's not going to flip the switch and happen overnight where we have these utilities brought underground, but parcel by parcel along 49, eventually over time, we will see that improvement so that it reduces the investment costs of the town to achieve that project.
My other question was with regards to, in your text amendment, you say no business with regards to if they're opening a new business in an existing building. Is there a caveat of, and I'll pick on Sunflower Bakery for a minute. So if I went in and I wanted to demolish 3/4 of Sunflower and leave the last quarter, am I considered demolishing or am I just improving? And that's where I'm concerned. Are we putting ourselves, can we better define that loophole, what demolish means, so that there is no question?
Well, typically in that situation, you look at how much of the building is left. If it is less than 50%, then we'll have to count it as new construction.
Is that written in there, though?
It's not, and you also don't want that narrowly defined in the ordinance, because that comes as we go through implementing this ordinance, and there are situations, then we can make some policy decision at the staff level. But you don't want to narrow the language too much, because the ordinance is always at the high level. We don't know what kind of problems we might get into once we implement it. So I think my recommendation would be at this point to leave it as it is. And once we have, and if we run into any situation, we'll bring it back to the council.
But in practice, you're usually establishing that 50%
Correct.
guideline. And we do that with a lot of our code cases that we have. So 50% is not an uncommon percentage that we use and apply to other zoning type issues.
Thank you.
But I guess too, that 50%, if it's not explicitly written, how does anyone know that 50% exists? That rule is, unwritten rule is in there. I'm struggling with it. It's not explicit.
Yeah, and it's not explicit on purpose. I think, again, going
So
back to Sushil's
we could just
point.
say, this is the way it's going to be, and they're going to say, well, show me in your ordinance, and we'll just say
And my
this is the way.
concern was it would be different for you versus for me,
I
right?
just want to make sure we're not,
And
to
I don't
your
want to
point.
create that type of, I know we're probably creating a hyperbole that doesn't exist,
Yeah.
but
I really don't think you'll run into that challenge too much. I think it'll be pretty self-explanatory when you get into those type of demolition type issues. And if you look at Highway 49, you probably don't have a lot of facilities that are going to experience that. You're going to see a lot of total redevelopment based on the age of the facilities that we have. So I don't know that it's going to be too big of an issue.
But
But the
again, if we
applicant,
run into an issue, we'll bring back the changes and
So-
we can define it.
well, and
But
what
if
you,
somebody was underway and they took down 50% of their building or 51%, I mean, what would you do back to us? Could we still make them go underground if they?
Underway today?
Yeah, if Sunflower Bakery wrecked half the building and they're starting over, could we hold them to burying the lines
Are we talking today or
today?
after?
After we pass this,
after
after we
this.
pass
We'll
this.
have to hold them to that standard, yes.
Okay,
I think what you would.
But we'll work with the applicant. I mean, they will know what the expectations are as they come for the application.
okay.
So, and our priority is going to try to get them to go underground. So let's say they're demolishing 30% of the building. Well, Sushil may interpret it that that 30% is significant enough that it's going to require them to redevelop their site, thus go underground. If the applicant is not acceptable to that, then they can always turn to you guys for direction. So you guys will always be that final say if there's ever a challenge on our interpretation of that
Well, actually, it
ordinance.
will go to the Board of Adjustment
Yeah,
for
Board of
variance.
Adjustments.
So there is an opportunity for applicant that doesn't agree with it to go to Board of Adjustment to ask for a variance.
So, Cecile, you have, so if you put that, are you afraid if you put that in there, that people won't build businesses here if you put the, is that what you're afraid of?
Well, from an ordinance, when you're creating a policy, you don't want it narrowly defined. I mean, that's the rule of thumb. You want it broad enough where the administrator has some flexibility depending on the situation you get into. So you just want to leave it open unless you get into, once you start implementing it and there are more issues of this kind arising, then we'll always kind of sit back and see what we can do.
But to your point, I think
Because
that.
I think he's afraid to make it
Overly
stringent
restricted.
because nobody will do it.
Yeah, I
That's
think
my-
that you're gonna hear you'll hear some individuals say, oh, by me going underground, it's too expensive for me to build there. As
Right.
Sushil mentioned, it's not like we're asking for $100,000 investment,
not $10 million
versus a
a pop.
$10,000 investment. It is going to be a higher level expense, but at the same time, I think if Harrisburg wants high-quality development on 49 in the corridor, this is a way to get that improvement.
I totally agree, but I just don't want to get caught where we have to, it's half done and he comes back to us and they don't want to do
Well,
it.
fortunately, if they're in the planning stage of whatever they're doing, they're going to be explicit up front going, that's 50%, so here's the deal. You want to
So
go
with
49?
any projects, they'll have to come to us first, and we have the pre-meeting, so all of those conditions and what the requirements are.
I'm good with it, I just don't want to get caught, later on.
Let us go through this, and if we run into some issues, we'll bring it back.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Yeah, I'd like to apologize first before I bring the question up. It didn't dawn on me until one of the slides popped up and my mind went off onto Highway 29. Is it in staff's best interest that you recommend that we extend this to Highway 29 as well as Highway 49?
We only have about 100 feet.
I'm just-
Yes, we're
going
going to do so.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
At this point, we're recommending only Highway 49, but if you want to explore other options, that's open.
I think if we had an extended corridor on 29, that might make sense, but we only have one parcel on 29 that is in Harrisburg.
And when would it come into play, make a decision with reference to the extension of Caldwell? I mean, because we don't know what Caldwell's gonna shape and look like. It could be all residential, but it could be commercial.
Actually, that front corridor is pretty much designated as retail, commercial anyway, as it starts into the property. So I think, and then it gets beyond that, so.
Yeah, and we can make that part of the development requirements when that happens, because that's a brand-new corridor that we get to decide on the front end what that looks like. So I think we're protected in that regard.
Yeah, for the new construction, yeah, we're, like
Can't
Hank
imagine
said, we're
Duke would
protected.
allow it, so.
So would there be a reason not to make it citywide?
No, we just wanted to start with, I mean, this is a major corridor that has implications for retail, and what we do on corridor, how the buildings are placed, has that aesthetic look. There are no other corridor like this, so we just wanted to start with this. But having said
Residential
that, is there opportunity to expand? Sure, but we don't see the need right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
But to answer your question, there's nothing to hold us back from applying it throughout all of town. I mean, when you talk about the Rocky River Road corridor with Farmington and what goes on there, again, that being new construction, the planning department has the opportunity up front to make sure that everything is underground in those regards. But at the same time, we've missed opportunities recently for new construction. If you just look across the street at the public site, that's an example where we had the opportunity to require them to go underground, but we just missed that opportunity from a planning perspective.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we're going to open up the public hearing for those people speaking for or against this ordinance change, for or against. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing, go to council for consideration.
Motion approved, Mayor.
Got a motion on the floor properly seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Old business. Brandon Facility Signage Construction.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Last month, I brought the branded facility signage to y'all contract, and you asked me to get bids. So I reached out to 3 additional vendors, only heard back from 1, and the estimate total for that vendor was $126,524.55. The original estimate from Signs Etc. was $75,557.80. If we choose to go with a vendor other than Signs Etc., we will have to pay them $12,500 for their design cost. So staff recommends moving forward with Signs Etc.
Any questions?
How did we end up in this position?
This all started before I got here, but Signs Etc. did our wayfinding.
Sorry.
Hey, Haynes uses that. He can't use it.
She learns good from you, Hayes.
That's right, she does. That's an easy go back.
Another vendor did our gateways, and the color is incorrect on that. So when we did wayfinding with Signs Etc., we decided to stick with that vendor to get our colors right and everything, and just to keep it consistent.
Yeah, so we selected a wayfinding signage vendor when we assigned the first contract, and I think the thought process was when you select that vendor, they would be the person that would do the entire wayfinding piece. Understanding we actually had it in 3 phases, so the wayfinding wasn't that we got out there and did all of the signs at one time. We knew that it was going to be a 3-phase process. So from staff's perspective, it just seemed to make sense to use the same vendor because you're going to get consistency in colors and materials where if you switch vendors, your signage could look different from one to the other based on, again, to Logan's point, getting the color exactly right. We have some very unique colors in our logo, and so, for example, our gateway signs don't have the correct colors in them because the vendor was unable to achieve that exact color. So
But yet he designed them.
I know, right? Yeah.
I'd see that as a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
you have major corporations that design signs, and I'm sure the same sign company doesn't make them every single time.
We have branding standards, and we have a branding standards book that has those colors in it.
That's correct. Yep. Well, and to her point, she reached out to multiple vendors to get additional requests, and Signs Etc. came in as the lowest bid for those signage, just like it did on phase 1.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve. I don't think that we should spend more money just to make the signs different for number 1, like you said. And the questions we're asking about the colors, we should have asked before we got any signs done.
That was before Haynes.
Oh, I see how we're operating tonight.
So we got a
You got
motion
the
on the
women on
floor.
your side too, Haynes.
That's right.
We got a motion on the floor, properly second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, moving to budget ordinance for fire department overtime. Oh no, Lee.
Hey, thank you. We had actually briefly talked about this over the last budget workshop where we kind of, we're going into some detail of how we are changing our budget process relating to overtime. But I want to kind of take you through where we are today with our fiscal year 19 budget. So when we originally went through the budget process last year, we budgeted $50,000 for overtime in the fire department's budget. That money was intended to cover mostly just the overtime relating to the hirebacks, strictly for vacation and sick time, July 4th celebration and other holiday events, and open houses and some other miscellaneous items. We had anticipated at that time, based on some of what we were seeing around the region, that we would be able to have our newly hired firefighters that were going through the recruit school to be at their normal 106-hour rate. What we found out as we dug deeper into this was the Department of Labor advised that this was not permissible and that they had to be on a 40-hour schedule and receive overtime. Based on that, all of our recruits for our recruit school this current year, that overtime totaled $38,000. Also, we sent our firefighters to intermediate EMT training and swift water rescue training, and that was an additional $8,000 of overtime. And then we had 2 hurricane events during the year. That was a little out of the ordinary, and that generated about $10,000 of overtime. And then we also have had some unexpected positions that have come open. Currently, we have 2 positions that are open. So as those positions have stayed open, we've had to fill those with higher backs that have generated overtime. So we're currently, based on all that information, we're projecting that the overtime will be finished out at $110,000, which is $60,000 more than what we had originally budgeted. As you can remember from last week, what we did for the fiscal year 20 budget is we actually went through and detailed every piece of the training component, which obviously is the largest part of this, as well as every other piece of component you can imagine that we could think of that would generate overtime in an effort to avoid having to come back to you in this kind of situation. So with that, we have a budget amendment before you for your consideration to increase overtime by the $60,000. Our recommendation is to actually take that out of salaries due to the way we budget with our merit increases, which again, as you're aware, we budget at the higher amount, and those typically come in below that amount. And then we also, because we've had some openings during the course of the year, we haven't had to spend money on salaries. So we're able to move that money from salaries into overtime and not impact the overall fire department budget nor the overall town budget. I'll be happy to answer any questions I can, and also have Chief Dunn is back there as well.
Lee, what's it cost to put a firefighter through rookie school?
Believe we don't have that number right off the.
It's about 10 grand.
Yeah, I was thinking of close to 10,000, that 8 to 10,000 range.
Not including salary.
Right.
Right.
Yep, that's just the overtime portion.
I thought it was closer to 15,000 total, no?
With that, yeah, with the actual 40-hour salary plus the overtime.
Hey, Rick, I think that's where a lot of this is coming in with that new standard by the Department of Labor, where we would look and say, hey, this is the cost of a salary of a firefighter going through training. Now with the hours that they are required to work during training, we're having to pay them overtime. So it's whatever their salary is plus $10,000 or whatever the bulk majority of this overtime is. So it's, I think moving forward now, we just kind of know to build that into the cost. And what really stings is when you spend that money up front and you train an employee, he gets hired and then leaves a month later, you take a great investment and then it's gone, you know. So
That's another fix-all.
Well, and I'll add to that, I mean, because Christopher, when he and I came in, there was a big discussion with reference into overtime, and that's how we got to that $50,000 number. Haynes, with your staff bringing the separation to why it's happening, makes a lot more sense. You know, 4 years ago, if we had understood the overtime was occurring because it was training, it would have made 10 times more sense. But I don't think, I mean, when you hear overtime, most of us that work in the public field, I mean, in the private sector, see it as overtime is overtime is overtime. It's not training, et cetera. I get why they have to do it. I don't know, I know how you've coded it to us in the budget. Does it get coded that same way for the public to see going forward? So it has a better understanding that it's not true overtime with regards to just.
Yeah, so as you saw it in the budget, you'll see those individual tags for those overtime pieces, and that'll be part of our budget, manager's recommended budget that the public will see.
All right, thank you.
I think it's a good idea the way you're doing it, because you know how a few years we come up short and needed 50,000 in the middle of the year and nobody can understand why. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely think it's a move in the right direction. I just had that question. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
We got 2 motions to approve.
I'll say.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Part of credit.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So tonight, we got a grant that we've been applying for some time now.
We got the grant?
No, we don't. We got a grant we're applying for some
Don't get
time
us
now.
all excited.
Yeah, no, not yet. In relations to Harrisburg Park, this started, as most of you or all of you are aware, that we started the planning processes for Harrisburg Park back in 2017. In FY 19's budget, we discussed, in addition to tax dollars, we'd also seek any grant opportunities that would become available for this park project. The primary being the PARTIF grant, which is Parks and Recreation Trust Fund. They've been around for 20, 30 years, administering grants to municipalities. Of those funds from the state, about 30% are administered to municipalities annually. And the funding balance this year after legislators, somewhere about 24 million, that's statewide. And again, only 30% of that is administered to the municipality. So with our project, we're seeking $350,000. That's a dollar for dollar match, 50-50 if awarded. The due date is May 1st. We would have a grant announcement late summer, early August. So the idea is for it to more or less correspond along with the project budget that we've got in place and the remaining CMR fees and GMP fees that we're vetting out between now and coming back to council in May and the alike. So staff recommends obviously going for the grant. There's no guarantees, but we would seek a recommendation to approve.
Council's wishes.
Is there any reason we didn't go for $500,000?
It was recommended by our PARTIF advisor from Recreation Resource Services due to the allotment of funds and their knowledge on the back end of how funds are administered between communities. Their advice was for us to go somewhere in the middle, which was about $350,000, which would be our largest grant for Harrisburg from our projects in the past. So usually through their council is what they recommend.
We've already
Are they
gotten
just
two at
not
$500,000.
awarding $500,000 grants anymore?
That's correct. I mean, pretty much at the end of the day, you got to have a project that's not only off the charts on the part of points scoring system, but you got to have some fairly significant social demographic and differences within the community for it to work as well. So you're really going to have a hard time getting that, and they encouraged us to go for an amount that they felt would get us a better look at our application. So we're taking their advice.
Any other questions? So you're looking for a motion to move forward?
Approved to
Motion-
submit on May
Motion to
1st.
approve.
Got a motion to submit?
I'll second it.
Properly second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any action items?
Only action items, just want to make sure that I review, we're going to get the data from the Sheriff's Department. We'll try to bring that back, or at least an answer as to what we can do about getting that data sorted out for Harrisburg specifically. And then we'll also bring back information and consideration regarding uniforms and the wearing of shorts for our departments.
Can I add one thing? I'm
Sure.
sorry. When we were talking about the underground utilities, what about the landscaping along 49? I noticed that part of the crepe myrtles are pruned, part are not, and they're pruned differently.
This businesses are taking responsibility for themselves.
And aren't they
right?
our trees, or are they DOT's?
Yeah, they're in the DOT right-of-way, so they're technically DOTs. We don't own anything on Highway 49 in the right-of-way. It's all DOT, but we can work with them and figure out what the landscaping is with those.
Be nice for them all to look alike.
Yeah. Yeah, we've gotten a lot of feedback recently from residents about the tree pruning that's gone on around Harrisburg, the very aggressive tree pruning. That's been Duke Energy and their efforts. The town hasn't had any ability to control or direct that. Again, Duke does that about every 3 to 5 years. They come through and really do a major trimming.
We get our utilities
So it
underground.
kind of goes back to the point that you made.
Yeah.
If it's town-wide, obviously, I know Stallings Road is getting just hacked to pieces.
Yeah.
I know we did discuss it in budget, and I'll bring it back up with regards to educating the public on their trash. Is that something we can start looking at and, bag it and understanding why stuff ends up where it does?
I think while you're doing that, the leaf clippings that are in the gutter area, not in their yards, I think is another huge violation.
Yeah, we'll just touch on all proper way of disposing. So
disposing
we'll get
stuff.
some education materials out on those.
Thank you.
Anything else? I don't think we have a closed session tonight, do we? Not that we're, you good? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Got a motion on the floor?
Second.
Probably seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'll be sleeping by 9:20.
You'll be drunk by 9:20.